Hey, hello. Welcome to the 2020 Student Design Competition webinar. Today we will be discussing the competition and what is needed, timelines to compete at the state level and at the WebTech in New Orleans this fall. Please feel free to ask questions in the Q&A toolbox throughout the webinar, and we will answer those for you at the end. My name is Megan Barillo. I'm the Communications Manager with CWA staff and will be your point of contact for submitting abstracts and projects to the state. We have a number of panelists on the webinar today who will be discussing the various steps of the competition. Debi Lewis, our 2020 Student Design Competition Chair, Ian McKenzie, our 2019 Chair, Jim Clark, our Student Design Competition Committee Member, William Cassidy, Committee Member and Team Mentor, Eric Costello, a Student Design Competition past participant and state winner, and Guy Yeager with the WEF Student Design Competition Committee. Thank you all for calling in today. And Debi, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you. We're going to start off with a little background information on WEF in general. We have the luxury of having a WEF past president be part of our committee. So Jim Clark, could you give us a little background?
I will, and thank you very much, and thanks everyone for joining. WebTech is the largest event of its kind in North America. It typically brings over 20,000 people to a city, and generally it's in North America. This coming year it will be in New Orleans. And it's part of the Water Environment Federation, which is a not-for-profit group. It's primarily for technical and educational benefit of a number of members and member associations. The Water Environment is a federation of member associations, of which the California Water Environment Association is one. So there are 75 member associations throughout the world, in California being one of those. California is one of the founding members of the Water Environment Federation, in fact, going back to 1928. And we're very proud that the CWA has decided to begin working with the Students and Young Professionals Committee in putting on our own conference for student design competition, which then the winner goes to the national, the global organization actually at WebTech. So the next slide, we'll talk about the design competition. It began in 2002, actually under my watch as WEF president, and I'm very proud that we've been able to look at real-world design experience and how much it's grown over the years. We try to promote the interest of skills and to be extremely valuable as you as students enter the professional world. We ask that you evaluate alternatives. We also evaluate comprehensive designs and present a solution that meets the requirements of a problem statement. And we'll talk a little bit more about that during this presentation. There are two competitions at WebTech, and it didn't start out that way, but the competition has grown to the point now where we have a wastewater design competition and a water environment design competition. The wastewater design competition looks at traditional wastewater collection and treatment design projects, and those are listed on the slide. The water environment design competition is intended to include other types of projects like stormwater management and green infrastructure and things that don't necessarily fit in the wastewater design competition. We found as time went on that it was basically difficult to judge a design project against a more environmental type project, and so that's why we decided to break it up into two categories at the WEF level. Now, every member association may only send one team per competition to participate. In other words, California could send one winner from the design competition and one winner from the environmental design competition. Unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on how you look at it, the number of entrants has grown to the point where the Water Environment Federation may have to limit the number of participants that attend WebTech this year. And so we are committed to send at least one team, California is, to the global competition. But we may be able to send two depending on what we decide to do at the state competition, as well as the number of entrants that WEF gets at the global level. So Debbie, I think at this point I'd like to turn it over to you to talk about the CWA competition.
Thank you. And again, thanks for everybody who's signed on today. So this is our third year in California participating in the student design competition. We've had a wastewater team and a water environment team, but of course it is our desire to send one team from each category, and we will provide financial assistance to the winning teams. Just to reiterate what Jim said, if California has winning teams from water and water environmental, there is the possibility that one team will be selected to participate in the competition. This is a new wrinkle, but California will still send both of our winning teams to New Orleans to witness the competition and to participate in all the other conference events. Next slide, please. So they need to be design projects. You shouldn't design a particular individual thing like a manhole or a weir. It has to be a complete design. It's very common for this to be a capstone project, although it's not required, and you can work in a team. Our first team that we sent was a 2-person team. The last team we sent, the most recent one, was a 4-person team. There is no limit to the number of members that you can have in your team, but the presentation team is only limited to 4 persons. You can have a 5th person to advance the slides. When you submit the design, it has to be complete with calculations, supporting documents, and reference the appropriate authorities. Anything else, Ian, that you would like to add at this point on?
No, I think you covered that well.
Okay. All right. Next slide. So you will submit a written report containing your solution with calculations and drawings, and costing is often included. And then you'll also have to complete an oral presentation of 20 minutes and be prepared for 10 minutes of questions. A PowerPoint presentation is required for the oral presentation. The winner will be selected based on written and oral reports. The state competition, which will be in Southern California, we will announce the winner at that competition. Your written report must be submitted in advance. We'll look at the dates in the next couple of slides. Next, please. So to be eligible to participate, you must be a student member of WEF. And this is a good deal, as Ian always says. You get to go to the annual conference free, that is to say the state annual conference free, and you also get to attend WebTech free. Again, presentations must be a max of 4 presenters with a 5th person to advance your slides. We will pick one team from each category to go to WebTech, although, as we've said previously, WEF may limit the number of people that can participate in the competition. And then as a reminder, student members who've graduated by the time WebTech occurs, because it is late in the year, will be allowed to participate if they were a registered student within the last 12 months. Next slide. Okay, so here we've got some dates. So we'd like you to notify us by Thursday, January 30th of your intent. And then on February 21st, we'd like you to submit a 1-page problem statement. This is like an abstract, and we want to make sure in advance that you're going to meet the rules and guidelines. It gives us a chance to make sure if there's any tweaking required to make sure that you're focused and that there'll be no problems when you complete all of your work. April 27th, you'll be required to submit a written report and your calcs electronically. This has got to be complete and well-documented. Preliminary design is a good level for this competition, and we'll send information on the submittal at a later date. May 1st is the date that teams have to notify WEF of their intent to participate. And so we'll probably do that notification and just tell them that we intend to submit teams, because it'll be, you know, we don't know who the winner will be until the competition, which actually occurs after that date, which is on May 9th. And again, details about where that's going to be. It'll be at Orange County Sanitation District, but more details will be forthcoming. We will support travel costs to the competition in Orange County as well. May 27th, a couple of days before you submit your abstract to WEF, we would like to take a look at it. So it's not on this date, but there have been some discussions about WEF struggling to make sure that they know which category the applicants, the contestants belong in. So we thought that we would take a look at this entry form before you submit it on May 29th. The week of June 22nd, the lucky winners must attend a webinars hosted by the WEF SDC subcommittee to review submittal requirements and also answer questions. August 21st, you would submit your electronic and hard copies of your design report to WEF. September 25th, you submit your PowerPoint presentation, and then the competition happens in the Big Easy, New Orleans on October 4th. We have had some discussion of providing a run-through or dress rehearsal for the team, and it's always a good idea as you consider your project to consider collaboration with a local utility. It really helps to align your project with real-world needs. And now we have a state winner, Eric Costello, to talk a little bit about the example project and his experience with the student design competition. Eric?
Hey, thanks for the introduction. So like Debbie and Megan said, I was part of the team that won the state competition last year. And our design, we made a very large constructed treatment wetland to put on the playa of the Salton Sea. So our process was it was a little bit different from some people, but I think not too weird. We identified a problem statement on our own. So we did not work with like an engineering firm or a city to come up with a problem statement. So we identified an environmental issue here in Southern California. And we just kind of brainstormed, came up with 3 or 4 alternatives that we could, potentially solve the problem with. So a big part of what we did is we conducted an in-depth alternatives analysis for a bunch of different measures. So we looked at the feasibility, at the cost, at the efficacy of several different treatment options, and we decided to go with constructing a wetland. So what we did there is we actually designed like the full wetland. So we did all the hydraulics, we did all the chemistry, all the biology that would go into actual treatment and sequestration of the pollutants of concern in the Salton Sea. And, we drew it out. We included all the calculations, everything like that. And then after that, we looked at the ecology, and we looked at kind of like all the who owns what land, what processes are already taking place, like what projects the state has going, what projects, kind of the water district out there has going, and we tried to fit our project into the current scheme of what's already happening out there, right? Because it needs to be a feasible design project. And then in addition to all the design work and all the, the kind of making it appropriate work, we also did a pretty in-depth cost analysis, or estimates. So we estimated how much it would cost to construct the wetland, how much money it would save in various areas. So we looked at kind of medical expenses that were increasing because of the environmental damage out there, mostly asthma related. And we looked at tourism costs that had been evaluated by, by somebody in the tourism industry. They had looked at how much money that area was losing every year because of declining tourism. And we kind of used all those numbers to compare to the cost of our designed treatment wetland. But like they said, it was very important when we got to WEF to have, you know, a design heavy project. So that was my experience. And that's us in Chicago. So that's the 4 of us plus our advisor. And that's all I've got.
I was muted. Thank you. So I guess I'd like to ask one other question. Do you feel like you benefited from your experience at WebTech?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that was one of the, you know, potentially most beneficial experiences I've had in college. Just going to WebTech, getting to meet all the amazing people there, all the other students for one. There were some really cool projects that we got to see, and that was real interesting to learn about. But also, kind of the professional networking was huge. I mean, all the you know, all the big firms, all the big national and global firms that are sponsoring WebTech have, you know, like judges on the panel, and you get to meet all the judges, and you know, you get to talk to them and kind of see what they do, and you know, kind of what people they're looking to hire after you graduate. And also, there's a career fair that was really good. They were doing all the on-site interviews and just, you know, kind of looking to hire people from WebTech. And I felt like, you know, we did have an advantage at the career fair because we had just been part of the competition. A lot of the people, you know, a lot of the recruiters there had seen our presentation and kind of knew who we were ahead of time. Yeah, it was great. I think if I had graduated last year, I would have been able to walk out of WebTech with, you know, with an amazing job, no problem.
Oh, that's great. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Next slide. So we've got a mentor, Bill Cassidy, who's going to talk a little bit about his experience and give some recommendations also to the people on the line about that kind of support and what's required, and just wrap up a little bit before we open up for question and answers. So Bill, William.
Hi, I've served as a mentor for several teams, and that I'm associated not only with Orange County Sanitation District, and then I'm an engineering supervisor here at the district, but I assist 2 schools with classes and senior projects. Actually, the first competition, the students at one school this was their senior project that I gave them, won the state competition and went to New Orleans to compete. From a mentor's side, and that you will enjoy watching the students and assisting them, but as more of a client, in that I actually provided the project and it was connected to their senior project program, I benefited kind of personally, or my agency did, and that the work that they produce, I used. So as a mentor or a client, a beneficiary, I got free engineering done. And I actually got excellent free engineering done, such that we actually revised the project I was working on, or my staff was working on, from a rehab to a replacement, to design and build a brand new pump station. The work that's been given in this particular program is basically a preliminary design report. Project they had wasn't the full scope of what we were doing at our agency, but it was a component, a slightly different aspect to it than what a consultant actually was working on. And I was able to use their end results to make that change. So from a advisor's perspective, or mentor's perspective, depending on where you're at or where you're coming from, whether you're an advisor and you work for a school, or you can be an advisor and work for a consultant. You can actually benefit from the students and work in addition to the students learning from you, seeing what it takes to actually do a real life project, building as a team, what a client's expectations are, you'd be giving them from that perspective, what your expectations are coming from. I provided all the information they needed from the aspect of I provided them the same information that I actually provide a real consultant that we hire. And so they had to do essentially real life work. I would advise them and help them get them in the right direction, or explain the expectations, or maybe help in some other ways just to make sure they were going in the right direction. But they produced, based on our input and our advice, a workable product. And so from that aspect, if you enjoy teaching, guiding, want to give back to the community, this is a good way of doing it. And if you want to see good results that you may actually be able to use in your capacity at your job, it's a good way to get some free engineering.
Thank you, William. I think that's a great comment. Unexpected.
And
so,
if you need justification for attending the WIF conference and having your boss pay, there's no way better than having a team doing work for you as a justification for the advisor also attending the conference.
Very good. Very good. Thank you so much for that. We also have a representative from the Student Design Competition at WEF on the line. Guy, I just want to know, do you have any input? I think you've got a few minutes before you've got to log out.
Yeah, I would just say that getting to attend WebTech is really, really special. Also, it's unique to go to a competition where you're competing against so many different schools and regions. You know, when I was in college, I got to compete around at the state level, and but never quite much at the national level. But going to WEF and seeing the design competition, it's really truly special, and it's really a unique opportunity that you know, I think for me, if I was in college, that would have been one of the highlights of my college career. So yeah, I think it'd be a really awesome opportunity if you can get to go.
Thank you. So just to wrap this up, environmental, civil, and chemical engineering majors are all acceptable. Again, we will sponsor 2 teams to go to New Orleans, although there is the possibility that only one will actually be able to compete at WebTech. You can develop your own problem, as Eric said, to address, and then the reminder 4 will be able to present. You don't need to have 4 by any means. We've done 2, and you have no limit really on the number of team members that will work on your project together. It's often a capstone project. With that, we'd like to open it up for questions. We'll give you a few minutes to, I guess, Megan, do we have any questions already?
I don't see any posted yet. We can give it a couple minutes and see if there are any that come in.
While we're waiting, I just would like to tell you that we do have the 2020 guidelines from WEF. They've been posted, and so we'll send them to all the attendees of this call. It'll give you an idea about the requirements that they have for judging, because that might be helpful for you to know a little bit about the oral presentation, what they're looking for, and the design report. Let's see.
Debbie, this is William.
Yes.
One thing I like to point out, being a utility and possible employer, I've had feedback from several students who work and do these type of projects and enter the competition. Give feedback that when it comes time to answer questions about what they've done, how they've been prepared during interview for jobs, I've got positive feedback that they have used these opportunities and how they achieved or where did they win, what projects they worked on, that they felt by having this experience, using this as an example of their experience in promoting themselves during job interviews. I've got good feedback that they felt this experience and the projects they worked on have assisted them in securing a job upon graduation.
Excellent.
I've actually seen them been proposed as part of a team that's submitting on a project. Actually, the project they did the preliminary design report for, they were on the team, one of the proposers who were trying to get that job.
That is amazing, of course.
There are some benefits in how you can use this experience and what you've done as a way of promoting yourself as you leave school.
Excellent.
Hey, this is Guy Yeager. Another thing that I wanted to share is that the WEF Student Design Committee and I believe that CWEA structures it the same way. We were talking about, projects that show real design experience. Some of those items that, judges and will like to see are things such as how many design alternatives did you explore? Did you state a problem and were you able to find an answer to it? And items that are more like involved with research are not going to meet those guidelines. They want to see that you worked on a real project or worked with a client or like on a real location of some sort to see how did you solve and come up with something that could actually be implemented for a real client in an engineering firm or any other way. But projects like that are going to have a better job at qualifying at the WEF level, and also I think for CWA as well.
Thank you. So I've got a couple comments here. They're not questions, but I want to make sure that I share them. So this is from Katie Susie, and she says, if any students are looking for engineers to help them develop or work on a project, please reach out. There are engineers looking to volunteer time and space to help students get this experience. And we've got, I think, a couple that are even on this call right now who are interested in participating. But whether you're in Northern or Southern California is not an issue. I think we have support. We have some people in Northern California as well, because this is a statewide competition. And then something from Dustin, who is clearly from Florida. He said they developed a letter to be sent by the university point of contact requesting projects for the program. So I guess this is the schools reaching out to engineering firms or agencies to ask if they have anything that they can help with in their student competition. So we do have a couple of other resources, but in all, I guess, I think the point that I really wanted everyone to know with having so many people participate in this presentation is that we are definitely here to support people. And then the other thing is, it's bragging rights for the state of California. So, there is a little bit of competition going on at our level as well. We definitely want to support and win at the WebTech. So it doesn't look like we have any questions. Let's see, is this anonymous? We have to submit your intent. Oh, So the email address is going to be on the last slide. And you can send all your questions or anything that you need. Megan Barillo is your contact. But you can certainly send any questions to me. Megan Barillo is going to be the person that receives the student's intent to participate, the abstracts, all of that stuff will go to Megan.
So there is one question. Oh, that's what you just answered. Great. Sorry. Got it. Thank you. All right. I don't think there's anything else.
Well, I will just say that I listened to the last presentation and I tried to incorporate their questions in this presentation so that just in case, so we were missing some points of clarification, things like that. So I hope that we have given you the information you need. We're going to get this criteria out to everyone. And let's see, is there one more? Let's see. I was going to say, and we look forward to supporting you and to having a great competition here in California. So thanks, everybody. If you have any questions, again, reach out to Megan or myself, and we'll make sure to get back to you. Again, we're here to support you. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.